Hey, it's Homework Help, week 1, day 4. So in the first problem, I'm actually doing your second problem on your homework first. It says write an expression that equals 24, include an exponent. So we have to come up with something, some kind of expression or math problem that equals 24. So I can pretty much do anything I want here as long as I have an exponent. Let's say, for example, let's say I use 4 squared. Now 4 squared, remember, is 4 times 4, which is 16, right? So how would I get to 16? I could do 16 plus 8, and I get to 24. This is one example. Now I'll give you another example. Let's say you started with 2 squared, which is 4. And you know 4 times 6 is also 24. So that's another example. But here's the thing. If you watch this video, you cannot use any of my answers. I just showed you 2 possible answers on how you get one. You have to come up with something different. Now, luckily for you, there's infinite possible answers. So I know you'll come up with a good one. Now, for the second problem, this division problem, I'm going to do it on this page using the traditional method. But if you use partial quotient, fast forward through it and watch that one. So starting with traditional, you know you don't want to divide in our algorithm by a decimal number. So you want to divide by 19. And to do that, you have to multiply 1.9 by 10, which moves that decimal over here. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the dividend, move that decimal over there, and I'm going to have 43.7. Now, I know 19 times 1 is 19, and 19 times 2 is 38. So 19, let me put my decimal here, is going to go 2 times into 43, which is 38. Subtract, bring down. Now 19 times 3, if I continue, is 57. So that's going to end as being 2.3 as your answer. All right, now let's go to partial quotient. And on the next page, using the partial quotient method. So I'll start with traditional. Now in partial quotient, we don't want to have any decimals in partial quotient at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this decimal twice to make it 437. Remember, I'm not just moving the decimal, I'm multiplying it by 100. And I'm going to move this decimal twice, you always have to do the same thing, to make that 190. So I'm actually doing 437 divided by 190. Now, let me start with this. I know 190 times 1 is 190. 190 times 2 is 380. Remember, I'm just doing 19 times 1 is 19, add the 0. 19 times 2 is 38, add the 0. And 190 times 3 is 570. So the biggest one I could use here is 190 times 2. And 190 times 2 is 380. And I'm going to subtract. 43 minus 38 is 5, and I get 57 left over. Now, since 57 is less than 190, I'm just going to go ahead and write this as 2 and 57 190ths. Now, if you reduce that, it's going to reduce to, it will reduce to 2 and 3/10. So I'm okay with either one of these answers if you did it with partial quotient. Now, if you watched traditional, you know we got 2 and 3/10 as a decimal, and 2 and 3/10 as a decimal is equal to 2 and 3/10 as a fraction. So they are the same answer. All right, I hope that helped. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me in class. Thanks.